Okay. We are getting ready. Getting ready. Excuse me. Good morning. Well, good morning here. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We welcome Michael in Germany and to Eugenia in Calgary. We saw some snow yesterday. Clem in Brisbane, Australia, where it's not snowing. Reddy's in Washington State. Good morning. Rusty in Texas. And John in North Carolina. Stan is with us. Welcome. Simcha in Florida. Boker Tov. And a Boker Tov to Julia in Pennsylvania. Denise is with us in Jersey. Diane in Arizona. Lisa's in West Virginia. Lori in Arlington, Virginia. Welcome. Who else we got joining us? We have Leah in Florida. Aliba and Davida in New York. Good morning. Daphne is in South Carolina. Boker Tov. Carlos in Costa Rica. Shalom. Deborah in Kitchener, a fellow Canadian. Welcome. Rena in Calgary. Colorado. I don't know if you have snow yet there in Colorado, like Calgary, but eventually you will. Good evening to Darren in the Philippines. Priscilla is in Canada. Oh, another Canadian. Welcome. Another Canadian. Johan in California. Daniel. Eugenia is keeping warm, yes. Who else we got that is with us? Okay. Sunny in Colorado. Beautiful. We have, in Clubhouse, we have Bachia and Vilma. We have Nishama. All right. Beautiful. Shmuel, Michael, Kayla May, rather. And we have Sim. Who else is joining us? We have Antitelabenda, we have Akoy, we have Rachel in South Carolina, in Peru, Akoy. Clubhouse. We have Merle now with us. Okay. All right, folks. Liz Alice is back in Baltimore and Maria in Pakistan. Okay. We begin the 28th letter. The 28th letter is somewhat similar to the previous letter, and they both speak about the passing of righteous people. This letter, is written by the Alter Rebbe to a relative by marriage. the famous rabbi, the Goin, the godly man, holy man of God, lamp of Israel, pillar of the right hand, mighty hammer, our master, Rabbi Yitzchak, head of the rabbinical court in the community of Barditchev, famous Levi Yitzchak of Barditchev, to console him on the passing of his son, pious Rabbi Meir. And this is what this letter is written to. Alter Rebbe begins, why is the passage concerning the passing of Miriam being Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu's oldest sister? So in the Torah, her passing is adjoined to the passage concerning the red heifer. So this is brought down in the Talmud. And the Talmud says, well, it's to teach us something. Why are they juxtaposed to each other? The law of the red heifer, is a way to make someone who comes in contact with death, with a corpse particularly, to be purified. So the Talmud asks, why is Miriam's death juxtaposed, joined with the law of the red heifer in the Torah? So this is to teach us, concludes the sages in the Talmud, that the heifer affects atonement. Right, that we know. It brings atonement, it brings a cleansing. So too the passing of the righteous. That's a statement in the Talmud. Ask the Alter Rebbe, we need to understand this. Why would it be juxtaposed, adjoined to the passing of Miriam, to the law of the red heifer, which is prepared outside the three encampments, and it's not real. It's not a sin offering specific. It's more about a cleansing than it is atonement for sin, right? Because it's for someone who came in contact with a corpse, so it can be totally, unintentional. But seemingly it should be the attachment and the adjoining of Miriam's death to a sin offering, which is prepared within the temple courtyard, on the altar itself, and it's actual atonement, right? Atonement for a sin. So in other words, the Talmud is coming in to teach us that the passing of a righteous person brings atonement, right? Well, where's there a greater atonement? Seemingly with an offering on the altar, which is a sin offering, which is specifically about atonement. As opposed to red heifer is like more of about a cleansing, spiritual cleansing, than it is about atonement. So why would it be juxtaposed to the red heifer? That's the Alter Rebbe's question on the Talmud. So now what we're going to go is to understand the mystical distinction between what it means to bring an offering on the altar, which is, by the way, is what we're learning at Rambam these days. Right? We're going to continue today with the laws of Yom Kippur and the offerings. So to the bringing on the altar versus the red heifer, that is a cleansing for someone who comes in contact with the corpse. So the mystical principle of sacrifice offered on the altar, as explained in the Zohar, and also Isaac Luria, the Arizal, is the concept of feminine waters, which is meaning an initiation from below, from within the person, right? And the animal represents what? The animal soul of the person, which gets its life force from Klippa, which is what led the person to do something wrong, to do something sinful. And now what are you trying to do by bringing this sacrifice? You're trying to ascend the animal, representing your animal soul, to ascend to the root source. What's its root source of the animal? Well, is the celestial chariot, which bears the throne, as described in Ezekiel, the Yecheskel, the prophet, that has the face of the ox, the face of the eagle, and so on. Right. So in other words, It's about bringing and initiating from below, and that's the concept of feminine waters. Feminine waters is from below to above, right? As opposed to masculine is from above to below. And to ascend the animal that is bringing as an offering to its root source, the spiritual root source, with his Ezekiel's celestial chariot that bears the face of the ox, the face of the eagle, right? Also the face of the lion, the face of man. Meaning that's the source, the spiritual source of this animal. And now what happens when you reach that source? Now you have the result of it, which is the male waters, meaning the benefactor giving, right? The benefactor, now that you've reached to that level, now you descend like waters go up, 2 drops of water go up in order that 1 drop of water rainwater should come back down. And what does it create when it goes up? That offering, it creates a union between the male and female parts of the divine. The female is above is Malchus, right? And the 6 emotions are the masculine. So a union is created from there, and therefore brings a flow of divinity back down to the person who brought this offering that is absorbed, integrated, vested within the individual. And that's why the altar, when you bring an animal, it's considered like food, because the level of divinity that you're drawing down through this offering is spiritually ingested. In other words, it's a light of God that can be ingested, and meaning that you can have some form of experience of it. Okay? That's an offering on the altar. What is the burning of the red heifer? Right? It's different. In the red heifer, you throw in, when you burn it, right, you throw in the cedar wood and a hyssop. And the function of both is the concept of drawing down sanctity from above. Furthermore, you put running water into the ashes. And as the Mishnah calls it, it's called Kiddush Mechatos, meaning sanctification. Kiddush means of purifying waters. So the word Kadosh, holy, right, sanctified, means separated, above and beyond. In other words, it relates to the level of what's called Kodesh Ha'elyon, supreme sanctity, which is Talia de Bulcha, which literally means the dew that is like coming from the manna, the dew that the manna came with from above. So unlike rain, the rain only comes because a mist goes up, water comes down. That was the concept that we had previously of an offering. An offering on the altar is about from within, you reach the ladder upwards to the celestial chariot. The mist goes up, so to speak, the water goes, right? And you reach that level, and now you create a union up there that brings down, descends from above. What goes up must come down. Water, atonement, that's ingested. A godliness that's ingestible. That's why this offering is considered like food, right? Because God considers like food. It's food for the altar, food for God. Meaning, it's food for the soul, that it's ingested, that light of God that we bring down. But here, we're reaching to Kodesh Eliyah. We're reaching to something that is sanctified, meaning it's beyond. It's beyond. And therefore it's like dew. D-E-W. Dew is not like rain. Dew comes on its own from above. It's not precipitated by the effort below to rise up the mist in order that the rain should drop down. No, it's purely from above. So likewise, this is now not something that the benefactor can reach, accomplish. When it's an offering on the altar, so this is something that a person, it's about them and their engagement, that they, therefore the divine light that they produce, that they bring down, is something to be ingested, to experience, something that is of the person, within the person. But here, because that's something you can initiate from below. But now, do is spontaneous arousal from above. It transcends our effort from below. That's the idea of the red heifer. It's an expression of the supreme chokhmah, meichastima of erech anpin, which is the level of divine wisdom and the level of keser, of the crown, that transcends the world entirely. Transcends the world entirely. In other words, it's not something that you can, it's not a level that's experienced, so to speak, or be of ingested, that can be a limited light, that therefore it's like food, right? This is something that is all-encompassing. And therefore it has the power to bring a refinement of something that is dark to transform it into light. It can refine and rectify, because that's the power of Chachma, that it can rectify that which is negative, like death. Meaning that you come in contact with death. You become defiled because you come in contact with death. So the red heifer, when you come in contact with a corpse, is the ultimate degree, coming in contact with a corpse is the ultimate degree of impurity. Right? Beyond Klipas Nega. And the sanctification of the pure waters that's drawn down through the supreme chachma of Meichas Tima, of Erech Anpin, of Keser, of the crown, is an illumination that transcends the world and therefore can transform the world. Meaning, it's the darkness of the world can be transformed into light. Therefore, when you come in contact with a corpse, you can now be transformed into the opposite of, right, from the opposite of that, of the coming in contact with the ultimate impurity of a corpse, you now become the ultimate purity of light that's transformed. Impurity is the opposite of life, death is the opposite of life, and now through this process, you can transform that. That's the power of the red heifer, of being able to make that transformation. As opposed to, and that's something completely from the above, as opposed to the offering on the altar, that's not transformational, because it's a light that is ingested, that's a part of you, that's within you. What you put into it, that's what you get. Red heifer is beyond that. That's the concept of the two difference. Any questions, any comments? I don't see any. So firstly, I'd like to make note of the fact that we see the concept of, we speak about sacrifices on an altar. Now it seems very, but here we see a very powerful spiritual idea of what it accomplishes. And then we understand that the metaphors, or the terminology that's used in the Torah have a very deep and profound idea. So when it says it is a pleasant fragrance for God, or it's lachmi, God calls the offering on the altar lachmi, my bread. Like God's eating bread. Of course, it's a metaphor. What is the metaphor? What's the metaphor? The metaphor is that it is a divine light that's ingested as food is ingested. In other words, it's a limited something, right? A limited light that is digestible, as opposed to the red heifer that is a much more awesome, encompassing light that can transform. So Laurie asked a very good question. How's this console for a loss? So when you come back tomorrow, we'll finish off the letter and we'll explain of how this is a consolation, to console. Well, remember the context over here. We're trying to understand when a righteous person dies, they don't just die, because the Talmud is saying that you are creating an atonement. So actually that's the first important thing to appreciate. Death is not a bad thing. Not at all bad. It's painful for going through it. It is painful for those who are left behind. It's not bad. It's not bad. As a matter of fact, as we're learning here, it brings atonement. So sometimes death is, a very good thing for the soul. Well, it is a very good thing for the soul in its atonement. Now, in fulfilling your life purpose, that God takes you away means, either completed it, or or a lot of time to complete it has been finished. In any case, simple point being is that death brings a cleansing to the soul for the person, let alone for others that can also do that. And that's where we're going with this, to appreciate. But we'll have to come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. We will, God willing, get an understanding further. Thank you, Laurie. A reminder that today there's going to be a TRC at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Even though we had one last week, we're going to have again this week. Darren has a question. Oh, what does returning the red heifer mean? I don't know, where does it say the returning of the red heifer? I'm not certain where you're getting those words from. I don't see that. Unless I'm missing something. You have to send it to me. Okay, beautiful. So TRC, reminder, and we had an amazing JLI last night. Got great feedback. If you didn't yet join, you want to join the JLI. Alice, how do we know we accomplished our mission? TRC question. You did everything you can, or not everything you can, but whatever. Once we leave this world. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you. Tanya, have an amazing day. Rambam coming up right now.